Hi, this is Free Thinking Through the Fourth Turning. My name is Sasha Stone. Candace Owens and the Non-Stop Hate Binge. Podcast listeners, a cartoon from the Babylon Bee. Candace Owens honors Charlie Kirk's legacy by doing everything in her power to destroy it. I have angels in my comment section who report when commenters lose their cool and fly off the handle at me. Most of the time, I delete them. Sometimes I don't. This one sailed through my inbox and will finally get this person banned after almost 6,000 comments in 3 years. And he's not even a paid subscriber. Please excuse the profanity. From HL3. Seriously, go F off, Sasha. You've been nonstop in your hate binge, and it never ever stops. Every post on your Twitter is more hate and defending your friend's hate. You claim Candace is full of hate, and you freely defend Tim Pool calling Candace an effing scumbag C-word. Whatever happens, I hope you awaken to how bitter and nasty you became and calm the F down. The worst aspect is just not you, it's all over. By the way, Supergirl is supposed to be that way in her origins. If being ostracized by Hollywood made you a bitter old woman, just imagine being 12 and watching your whole civilization get destroyed. Clark Kent was a baby, no memories. She had them. A movie for everyone? No, but if it tells the story right, what's the problem? End quote. I can't lie and pretend to be excited for Supergirl. It's not a movie made for me, and I'm not sure I can handle one more girl boss movie, especially one whose tagline is truth, justice, and whatever. Maybe my daughter will like it. But let's move on to the red meat of this, shall we? What is this non-stop hate binge I've been on lately? It's true, I've been out in force on X, fighting the wave of what I would define as hate aimed at Erika Kirk and Turning Point. It's not something I could or would ever ignore. I'm not built that way, which is how I got into this mess in the first place. I'm Gen X. We tend to say what we really think. We're not good with the comfortable lies, and we weren't raised to shrink back from conflict. And, like Trump, I have a bit of an impulse control disorder when it comes to social media. If I didn't, my life would never have changed the way it has. I began fighting the left when I saw how they were dehumanizing the right. Melania and Ivanka Trump, MAGA supporters, and even Trump himself. It cost me almost everything. Smarter people know how to shut up. They know how to keep their heads down and go along to get along. But I've never been that way. I've been online for 30 years of my life, entirely too long. I've wasted years arguing pointlessly on X or Facebook. It is spitting in the wind. It does nothing to change anyone's mind, and it only makes me unlikable and a target. But I can't help it. I don't know how any reasonable person could not be thoroughly and disgusted and horrified by Candace Owens, and how she has exploited the murder of Charlie Kirk. It's not only dividing the right, undoing so much of what Charlie did, but it's exposing ugliness and dehumanization on the side I have always defended. I can't help but think Candace is jealous, not of Erika, but of Charlie, his reach and popularity, how beloved he was and is, especially in the wake of his death. So she just decided to steal from him, his legacy, his reputation, his movement, his influence. She did this by co-opting his story and spinning a delusional yarn about what is a fairly open and shut assassination case, one that pins the blame on the fanatical left. Here are some videos from TikTok.
Man, I've seen people say that Erika was involved in it. His wife. I've done a lot of death notifications where I had to tell kids that their parents were dead or their parents that their kids were dead, and I know what pain looks and sounds like. I wake up screaming sometimes, thinking of kids' faces. The words that came out of her mouth and how they came out when she walked in that room and saw him, you don't want to hear that. She's a victim. That's her husband. And now people without any proof are saying that she was a part of killing him. Come on, man. And then not having anything to substantiate it with. That's what makes me lose faith in people. And that we allow it. And that platforms allow it. It's like, it goes against everything that we are. And if we're going to allow that, what else are we going to allow? You hear that kind of pain come from somebody and see it. And I could only imagine the pain she's feeling now by happening to hear that people say that she was a part of it.
To come in and either prove her right or wrong. Why? You've got family members grieving. Okay? You've got an organization that's restructuring, trying to make sure that his movement becomes the revolution it should be. You've got people that are busy making sure his show goes on, and TPUSA stops on campus. That continues. They don't need to be bothered with your BS. So either show your work, show your proof, or stop saying it. I get it. You're getting millions and millions of views, and that's very financially good. And you're a great creator. You're somebody who's got a very good brain. Why are you doing this?
Okay, we got to talk about this nonsense with Candace Owens, and we got to keep talking about it. Why do we have to keep talking about it? Because she's messing up the midterms. She's messing up the coalition that we've been building for the past 10 years. The MAGA coalition, which started all the way back in 2016. We had momentum. We had movement. We had true revolution. And now, it's all being demolished.
So I mentioned that Candace Owens is making Erika Kirk's life a living hell. So let me read to you who Candace Owens has accused Charlie Kirk of being murdered by. Ready? It's a long list. Obviously, Israel's number one. Number 2 is the B cult. Number 3 is the deep state. Number 4 is Turning Point USA. Number 5 is the FBI. Number 6 is a trapdoor. Number 7 are the Mormons. Number 8 is my personal favorite, Britney Spears. Number 9, Egyptian planes. 10, Trump administration. 11, Erika Kirk herself. 12, the feds. 13, Charlie's friends. 14, Kash Patel. 15, the Macrons. 16, MK Ultra, don't even know what that is. And 17, the military. So all of these people allegedly killed Charlie Kirk. And all of these people, she allegedly has all of these receipts, right? Candace, we're still waiting for the receipts. I'm sorry, because an Egyptian plane landed in America at the same time Charlie was killed does not mean Egypt killed Charlie Kirk. In fact, there's a man in court right now that is being tried for the murder who is smirking and giggling his way through this trial. And that's who you should be focused on instead of focused on destroying the Republican Party.
Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk's family and friends are behind his assassination. In fact, many of his friends knew what was going to happen to him and they kept their mouths shut because they were also afraid that they would be killed. Now, I don't have any hard evidence of that, but what I do have is a couple of text messages, and I also found out that some Egyptian planes were flying around following Charlie Kirk's wife for the past couple of months. But it was actually Israel that was involved in this. It was actually because a Jewish donor pulled money from Charlie Kirk. But I also kind of think that the French were involved in it. You know that Macron and his whole department also put out a plot to assassinate me. They want me to be killed, but I really think that it's Turning Point that is involved, and I think that they have been silent for the past 3 months because they know that I'm right, and they just can't combat anything that I'm saying.
And I don't care about your midterms, okay? I don't care about your next year midterms and whether or not the Republican Party is united, okay?
No, we know you don't, Candace. We know you don't care about the midterms. We know you don't care about the party or whether we're divided. We know that you don't care about saving America. We know that the only thing you do care about is yourself.
She doesn't need the money. Her husband, George Farmer, is worth between 180 and 200 million. Not to mention how much Candace is making by spinning tall tales to feed her audience of mostly bored women who need drama in their lives. Lifetime movies don't cut it anymore because they, like everything else in Hollywood, went woke. Even the psychological thrillers and romance novels have gone woke, even true crime podcasts. So instead, they follow the snake oil salesman, the huckster, the Barnum and Bailey lying YouTuber down any rabbit hole she chooses to offer up. Anything to make it seem like they're involved in some gossipy, dirty, evil secret that they know something no one else does. It's easier to believe we can control inexplicable, horrific tragedies, whether it's the Democrats always blaming guns or it's a faction of the right always blaming Israel. No, Candace is not doing this for money. She's doing it for that insidious word of the internet age, clout. As long as they're talking about you, as long as you're a trending topic, your clicks and views will rise. You'll be highly ranked on the podcast charts, and you'll see that as a success. At least until it isn't. Who could resist what it must feel like to have millions of people tuning in to hear what scandalous thing you'll say next? How could anyone not become addicted to it and constantly feed the beast, hungry for more? The algorithms have ravaged our brains and nervous systems, and in Candace Owens' case, her morality. True, she needs a new narrative to wipe off the sticky scum of humiliation now that her Brigitte Macron is really a man conspiracy collapsed. What better way to pivot away from that and redefine Candace? The hatred, bullying, and ugliness aimed at Erika Kirk come from both the left and the right. Each side has its reasons for wanting to destroy her and Turning Point. On the left, it's obvious. Even Barack Obama called Charlie a racist, more or less, in the wake of his death. They can't abide a movement like his that was attracting so many young people. They couldn't just accept the death of Charlie. They had to work every day to kill off his legacy, and that meant going after his widow, Erika. If some on the left have abandoned their decency and humanity to stay in power, some on the right are doing it out of a deep-seated hatred of Israel and distrust of the Jewish people. There is no other way to say it. That is the stinking rot that lies in the soul of Candace Owens, what drives her popularity on YouTube and social media, because Jew hate is global. And yes, it's also banal, as Walter Kern explains here with Matt Taibbi on America This Week.
How would you characterize what's going on that side of the political spectrum? Because there's a splintering over there that is becoming more and more pronounced every day. And I think it's even more complex than the one that happened on the quote unquote left after 2016.
Matt, it all comes down to anti-Semitism, I'm afraid. The thing that Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens and the various Charlie Kirk conspiracy theories have in common is the Jews. Okay? That is the mind virus that she was referring to, I think, euphemistically. Somehow this ancient and hoary theory about a certain in-group running the world has taken root on the right in a way that could be organic and could be planted, and is probably both, in the sense that I think it's being fanned by the enemies of that side, so that this circus-like anarchy is going to break out and go further. And it's a meltdown that, in some ways, I think has been tolerated for too long. In the sense that Candace Owens obviously nutty. Her conspiracy theories are fifth rate. I love a good conspiracy theory. In fact, I'll even stick with one long enough that I can decide it might even be true. Hers are off the rack crap that you can sort of see someone in a badly written movie about conspiracy theories attempt.
Even the badly written movie Conspiracy Theory.
Right. Her dots are tiny. They're very far apart. They're poorly connected. And, in the end, the face they draw it's the Jews.
I know what Jewish hate feels like. I'm half Jewish on my dad's side, which meant I was never technically Jewish, but Jewish enough for the camps. My sisters and I knew that we felt some hesitation saying we were Jewish around some people. It was just something we grew up knowing. What Candace is doing, what so many of her minions are doing, is in service of what I believe is evil and ugly. I don't even think the recent massacre on Bondi Beach would pull any of them out of it, left or right.
Shots ringing out over Australia's most famous beach, packed for sunset. Panic as people on the shore and in the sea run for shelter. As rounds are fired, a moment of bravery. Watch as the man in white, Ahmed al-Ahmed, tackles one of two terrorists, targeting hundreds of Jewish people who were peacefully celebrating Hanukkah, the festival of lights. The disarmed attacker retreats to a bridge, where his co-assailant, 24-year-old Naveed Akram, continues to fire, shooting Ahmed al-Ahmed twice in the arm. The pair continue their attack before they're surrounded by law enforcement. One is shot dead and the other is seriously injured and apprehended.
Standing up to Candace Owens and her mob of psychos and sociopaths is no easy task. Almost everyone is afraid of her because she brings out the knives and she goes for the jugular. Her army of minions will do her bidding like the monkeys in The Wizard of Oz. She'll destroy you if she can.
Take your army to the haunted forest and bring me that girl and her dog. Do what you like with the others, but I want her alive and unharmed. They'll give you no trouble, I promise you that. I've sent a little insect on ahead to take the fight out of them. Take special care of those ruby zippers. I want those most of all. Now fly! Fly!
Lucky for me, I'm so insignificant she wouldn't bother. But Tim Pool is not insignificant. He has a large platform and he put it all on the line to stand up and do the right thing. He let her have it in a well-deserved viral rant.
I think that the evidence we have seen thus far, Occam's razor, suggests Robinson is the likely culprit. We will see what happens in the trial when evidence is presented, but there's literally no other story. Just a bunch of fucking retards on the internet saying stupid shit. And what that does is the organization that helped get Donald Trump elected, which needs to persist. You don't got to be a fan of it, but it certainly will help get individual congressional candidates elected and stop Democrats from launching new committees and putting more people in prison like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro. Instead, it's being gutted by fucking psychopaths telling people to pull their donations. So when this organization burns to the ground or whatever the fuck happens to it, maybe they're fine. The organization that's rallying young people, causing a shift in the political leanings of a generation for the first time in history, is now in dire straits. Their leader and founder murdered, and prominent pieces of human trash are trying to destroy it. It's fucking evil. So you know what? When someone pulls in front of my property and fires on it several times, I'm sitting here looking at these vile pieces of shit and thinking to myself, for what purpose will I stick my neck out if this is what happens after Charlie Kirk is killed? Candace Owens is a fucking evil scumbag. She is a degenerate cunt. She is burning everything down, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you fucking told me? She has no security. She doesn't fucking deal with the shit we have to deal with. She's a piece of shit. She's making everyone else suffer, and all of these fucking conservatives out there that send me these fucking messages have no fucking balls to call her out. More and more people have started doing it. They send me these fucking messages. Good for you, Tim. Good for you, Tim. I wasn't the first person to do it. I'm not going to take credit for that, but don't fucking DM me like I did something for you as you cower, scared that she'll put you on her thumbnail and claim you benefited from Charlie Kirk's assassination, which she's doing to me right fucking now.
He then went on Piers Morgan and explained it even further.
Well, one of the influential people with very strong views on this matter, among others, is Tim Poole, the CEO of Timcast Media, who joins me now. Tim, welcome back to Uncensored. We're going to come to a really appalling incident that happened at your home. You reported this yourself in a few moments. But first of all, what is going on here with Candace Owens and Erika Kirk is causing a lot of consternation to a lot of people. You finally, it looked like to me, had enough and went pretty nuclear about this. Why does it matter to you so much to do this?
Well, the simple answer is that there was a coalition that was built by many people with. This coalition had many different political views, but it largely coalesced around a populist pro-America movement. I myself grew up very liberal, very Democrat, and like many others, found ourselves more likely to vote Republican because we saw the Democratic Party as drifting away. One of the most powerful voices in uniting all of these forces was Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. I don't completely agree with everything Charlie said, nor Turning Point USA, but Charlie invited me and many others to debate those ideas. Even Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks was invited to come and speak at AmFest because Charlie understood only when we come together and have these conversations can we actually make this country better. Well, he was murdered, and it puts all of this coalition building in jeopardy. And this movement to try and help this country with not one singular political ideology, but many that overlap. And the most damaging thing done, of course, was the murder of Charlie Kirk. And now the second most damaging thing we're looking at is Candace Owens burning down everything he built and now having the gall to go after his grieving widow and his children, indirectly threatening their livelihoods, what Charlie built. It's a bridge too far. She's said many things that were increasingly, let's just call it, unhinged. And then finally, one day she said, pull your donations from this godforsaken organization, with a direct implication in her post saying that Charlie Kirk was betrayed by Turning Point USA, even saying in one clip that his friends would have had to have signed off on his murder. It seems like there is no depth too deep and no bridge too far for her to benefit her career and her show. She would even go after those who loved Charlie the most. And I have no problem with people questioning the official government narrative or what the FBI thinks, but claiming there's Egyptian planes flying around in Utah time, which he was incorrect about, claiming that these planes are landing at airports or black SUVs are pulling into federal buildings where it just so happens her lawyers also work. It has just come to the realm of nonsense. The U.S. military, she claims, is now involved in his murder. She has turned the very tragic murder of Charlie Kirk, and she has turned this political movement into a reality drama true crime show where she treats us all like characters in a fictional show. And, you know, I think it's just gone too far.
Another brave voice is Matt Walsh, who gave, I think, the best and most passionate explanation of why these conspiracy theories are hurtful and damaging to not just Erika Kirk and Turning Point, but to the country. Because this madness threatens to destroy the MAGA movement. No one has said it better.
As of now, there is actually a case to be made for a conspiracy, but it doesn't involve the Egyptian Air Force or the French Foreign Legion. It involves the people who were predicting the attack on the internet before it happened. The leftist freaks on the internet who seemingly had foreknowledge of the attack. It involves the coordinated attacks by leftists on law enforcement over the past several months. It involves the people, leftist militants, who have been committing acts of political violence all over the country for years, and who had all of the motive and all of the incentive to kill Charlie Kirk. There is one group and one group only that has actually benefited from Charlie's assassination and that ever had a chance of benefiting, and that is the militant left. Now, on the other hand, the group that has been harmed the most by far, and that could only be harmed by this, is TPUSA. Which means that along with there being no evidence at all to implicate them, they also don't have any discernible motive. And that includes, most obviously and especially, Erika Kirk. And on that note, I want to say this about Erika. I'd only met Erika maybe once or twice prior to Charlie's death. After he was killed, of course, I reached out to her, and we spoke briefly on the phone. Again, I'm not going to go into detail about the content of a private conversation, except to say that Erika, who had just lost her husband in the most shocking way imaginable, spent most of our conversation trying to encourage me and tell me how much I meant to Charlie, as I tried desperately to deflect the conversation back to her, the person who mattered. She's the grieving widow with children who at that point still didn't even know that their father was dead. And yet here she was on the phone, through her tears, through the very deep and clear and audible anguish and pain in her voice, still trying to be gracious and encouraging to somebody else, some guy she barely knew. And it was clear to me then, and has become all the more clear to me since, as I've gotten to know her more, that this is somebody with an immense amount of strength and courage. So when people look at Erika and say, she's acting strange, I've never seen a grieving person act this way. Well, I agree. She's an exceptional person in an extraordinary situation, handling it with remarkable poise and dignity. That is a virtue, and virtue is a strange thing in our day. And even if she were not an impressive person, she would still be a grieving widow. She would still be my friend's wife. And I would still feel duty-bound to support her, as I have over these past 3 months in ways both public and not. So what I am asking everybody, including Candace, is to please leave this woman alone. Let her grieve. Let her pick up the pieces of her shattered life in whatever way she sees fit. She deserves that grace. And we owe it to her, not because of any specific debt, not because we have no right to question her. Of course, we do have the right. But we have a moral obligation as children of our Heavenly Father to be charitable and kind towards suffering widows, especially the widow of a man that all of us on the right say that we respected and admired. All told, the tragic reality is that 3 months after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the leftists who want us dead are more emboldened than ever. They are thrilled. And that was always the worst possible outcome. It's a trajectory that, if it continues, could destroy not only what Charlie built, but also what's left of the conservative movement, a movement that is the only thing standing between Western civilization and the forces that wish to tear it down brick by brick. That's the reason sociopaths like Tyler Robinson are smiling right now. They know they're winning, and we cannot let them, which means we all must return to the facts, to the truth, and our defense of it, which is the mission that Charlie lived for and died for. We cannot let it die with him.
I would never have guessed that the two heroes to emerge from this mess would be Tim Pool and Matt Walsh, but here we are. These kinds of moments test all of us. That's not to say people can't criticize Israel, or that the United States should fight Israel's war, or give them money. But this goes deeper, and making this MAGA's biggest political issue is a losing proposition. Here is Carl Cannon of Real Clear Politics, along with Tom Bevan and Andrew Walworth on The Megyn Kelly Show.
Carl? Well, Megan, I think the thing is a danger to the conservative movement for a slightly different reason. So Candace Owens came on the scene. She was a black woman and a conservative, and that was the novelty. And then it turned out...
Well, when she first started, I think she was a Democrat.
Well,
when she first got started.
Okay.
She told me that
well,
when
but
she
her
came
prominence,
on. I interviewed her. She was much more left.
Well, but her prominence,
she grew out of that.
Her prominence came when she was considered a conservative, and then she turns out to be something of a nut and on Israel, and probably, a lot of people think, me included, a bigot when she talks about Israel. And then it turns out that Erika Kirk hinted at something else, a third problem with her, which is that she's making money off attacking the memory of Charlie Kirk, that she's a cynic, that she's in this for the money. And the point I'm making is that she shouldn't answer these nutty conspiracy theories. Candace Owens trying to taunt her into coming on her show. Why should she even dignify this vile, this crazy conspiracy theories. They're not even theories. She's just throwing stuff out there and hoping it sticks to the wall. But if there's going to be, a couple of million people, young people who were eligible to vote in 2028 that weren't eligible in 2024. And she's undoing, and not just her, I think Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, they're undoing some of the good that Charlie Kirk did. These are young people on college campuses or high schools and in workplaces, and they're coming to they're coming into politics and they're become politically aware, and they're thinking, okay, everything my left-wing teachers told me may not be true. Maybe, and they're deciding what they believe. And this is muddying the message. This is, if people on the right say the exact same things about Israel that your left-wing, Hamas promoting teacher told you, it gets in the way of the message. A conservative would support Israel because Israel's a democracy.
What?
And
that's not necessarily true.
Well,
Carl.
I'm not talking about
anyone
spending
a bigot because they've got criticisms over Israel.
No, what I'm saying.
Israel's just at the tail end of a very bloody, awful 2-year war where they were extremely aggressive and a lot of innocents died, and that's why young people are turning on Israel, not because of pundits out there saying things about Israel.
Well, this country, we were attacked. In Pearl Harbor, and we killed more people in Japan and Germany, civilians, in a day, an average day, than Israel killed in 2 years. So I don't think this is about civilians in Gaza. I think it's the colonizing, narrative that the left has pushed. And you wouldn't think conservatives,
for some, for sure,
you wouldn't think conservatives would fall for it. Do you think?
The woke mind virus destroyed the left. And the woke right mind virus threatens to destroy MAGA if it keeps heading in this direction. Again, as Walter Kern and Matt Taibbi discuss.
There's a lot of anger there's a lot of perceived belief that the original MAGA goals have been sidelined so that Donald Trump can take care of his masters in Israel.
Right.
And look, there's no question that they're doing they're trying to respond to some of these factions, I think. So
sure.
Fake or real, it's interesting.
Well, fake and real is the way of our century. Everything, gets piggybacked on and accelerated and promoted and pushed and so on. Maybe the horses start as innocent race horses, but they get juiced after a while. And yes, Trump is having to respond to it. But, you never realize how unjust this crap is and how crazy it is until it comes for you. Or as I saw it coming for these Charlie Kirk people down in Phoenix. And, I'm regularly now accused of being somehow under the guidance, sway, or influence of Israel.
We both are.
Of all things, dude. I mean, come on. I know. And as Mark Twain says, you read about something or an event that you attended in the papers, and you realize how full of shit the papers are, because you were there. Well, one expert on how little Israel is influencing me is me, okay? I happen to have the raw data on that one. And being accused of it constantly makes me realize that this is a huge op. I mean, that it would reach the likes of me and that it would be so vociferous and vicious. And this thing has broken out in a nationwide fashion. And I don't know where it ends except with renunciation of this sort of behavior. I mean, she started it, Erika Kirk, a little bit there. I'm drawing the line now. But this will only be proof to others that she is exactly who they suspect she is,
Of course. Look, the Fuentes thing is that is going to be a serious political problem. Like that can't happen. Like that guy can't become a national political figure. If he does, it's a big problem, right? Because we've seen the rise of almost like an organized institutional crazy on what used to be the left in America for about a decade. But this other thing that we're talking about now is this isn't just like organic populist rage towards the establishment. This is like actual vicious nuttery.
But they turned it on. I can almost remember the month when they suddenly dialed this up, you know, and if I were going to try to destroy the populist movement in America, this is exactly how I'd do it. I'd skip straight to the thing that undid Hitler and undid, you know, a lot of these fascist movements, which is their, you know, suspicion that they're being undermined by the cosmopolitan Jewish conspiracy. And I'd feed it straight into the heart of the movement. It's sort of like bringing them the hardest drug possible. And a certain number would get addicted, and a certain number would, you know, repeat it and find it, you know, toxically exciting. And then I would just fan it until it burnt the whole place out, because that's the only direction it goes. It's an invasion of the body snatchers thing when you've got people turning on everyone, not just as Jewish, but as somehow an agent of, that means there are no boundaries to how far the fire can burn. And it'll be everybody pointing at everybody else saying, you know, no, you're the running dog. You're the lapdog. You're the lackey. No, you are. And it will probably be, unless it's stopped, the undoing of this particular movement.
Yeah. I think that's right. Well,
as I watched this video on Bondi Beach, I thought about Anna Kasparian saying on X, "I would never step foot in Israel." I think about how Candace Owens will spin this as some false flag operation, and I worry for what's coming next. Humans have been at war for over 90% of our existence. It is in our nature. We will go to war whether it's on social media or in Gaza or Bondi Beach. To fight any war requires dehumanizing the enemy. Podcast listeners, a montage of cruel tweets about Erika and Charlie Kirk. But once you get there, where even a shot in the neck that kills a husband and father makes no difference to you whether you're on the left or the right, then you're beyond saving, because you've lost your humanity. Like the good Germans in World War II, like the good white people in the South after the Civil War, like the Puritans in Salem. The left mocked these Trump supporters for showing empathy and solidarity to Trump after he was shot. They said it was a cult. They laughed at them, but I saw the decent people I've come to know over the past decade. That's the kind of humanity we need. Podcast listeners, a picture of a tweet. Show of hands if you agree MAGA is the dumbest effing cult in the history of humankind. And pictures of Trump supporters with bandages on their ears. These past 10 years have taught me that I will never go along with dehumanizing other people. I'd rather lose everything. The reason I'm here on Substack is the same reason I will lose subscribers for this post. I couldn't do the other thing. I couldn't shut up. If that makes me a bitter old woman, then so be it. Here is Frank Turek.
As we all know, Candace Owens is spinning a lot of suggestions that there's all sorts of conspiracies out there about who killed Charlie. It's fine to ask questions. It's fine to suggest that maybe this happened, maybe that happened, but it's not fine to insinuate that people are guilty of murder or they're in some sort of murder conspiracy unless you have really strong evidence. My friend Mikey McCoy, whom I talked to today, is getting death threats. I get what appear to be death threats. You never know what can happen to you. In fact, before Charlie, these gentlemen were not with me. Before Charlie, we didn't even have a police officer in the back of the room. Why do we need that now? The Bible is very clear. You need 2 witnesses to convict somebody. You don't gossip. You don't slander people. Unfortunately, I think too much of that is going on. So far, I've heard that Candace and others, it's not just Candace, have suggested Netanyahu killed him, Israel killed him, Trump killed him, TPUSA killed him, Mikey McCoy, his dad Rob McCoy had something to do with it, the FBI, Egypt. I heard France today. I thought all France did was surrender. Now, let me ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. Unless those possible culprits in Charlie's murder all work together on some grand conspiracy, that most of what is being said about this has to be false. Do you see the point? If you're going to suggest all these different people are involved, they can't all be involved. It strains credulity to say they're all somehow involved. Maybe one of them did it. But that means most of what's being said about this is false. And what if the guy who actually has been charged with the crime really did it? Then every single thing that is being said regarding conspiracies, if he acted alone, is certainly false. Now, the trial is probably not going to be for at least another year. We can't keep spinning conspiracy theories without evidence. People are going to get hurt. So I plead, if you're watching this kind of stuff, or you know people that are, you need to say, hey, it's okay to ask questions. It's not okay to insinuate people are guilty unless you have really strong evidence. In fact, if I were to say, I really think Candace Owens did this. I really think she did. You know why? Because Charlie stopped inviting her to the big events. And she thought if she could get rid of Charlie, then maybe they'd ask her to be the head of Turning Point. And she's bringing all this up, citing all these other people to cover her own tracks. And I really think she's jealous of Erika too. I think she's the one that did this. This all checks out. Would that be fair? No, it's not fair. It's ridiculous. I have no evidence for it. But I submit to you, that appears to be what she's doing, knowingly or unknowingly, to people for which she has no evidence they were involved. I need to say one other thing about this. Candace makes a big deal of Mikey McCoy turning away and immediately getting on his phone when Charlie was shot. She said there's only 3 possible things you can do in a situation like this. You either run toward the problem, you run away from the problem, or you freeze. Candace Owens doesn't know what she's talking about here. Because these men in these rooms will tell you that when a traumatic event occurs, if they're trained to do something, they automatically do it. I was in the Navy. We had emergency procedures. You practice those emergency procedures over and over again, so when the disaster strikes, you don't even have to think. You just do it. Why did I run to get in the car? Because I thought beforehand, if Charlie ever gets shot and I'm there, I'm going to do whatever I can to help. Didn't even need to think about it. Charlie drilled into Mikey, who at the time was only 23 years old. Drilled into him. if anything ever happens to me, the first thing you do is call Erika. Why would he run to Charlie when Charlie has 6 guys around him carrying him to the car? All he would do would be get in the way. Mikey did exactly what he was trained to do.
We must be brave. We must be decent. We must hold the line. Thank you for listening to my podcast, sashastone.com. Hope you had a great weekend, and I hope you have a happy Hanukkah to my Jewish listeners. If you like my work, you can always leave a tip on the main page, or you can become a paid subscriber. You can write a review. All of those help keep this site going. And remember, to thine own self be true.
Sitting on a stage, afternoon light, speaking with a young, truth in plain sight. Crowd leaning close, 3,000 strong. Then a shot rang out, and then he was gone. His name was Charlie. He spoke without fear. He spoke without fear. Don't let it fade. Don't let it fall. All voices together. This is how freedom dies. No voice at It starts with a label, enemy of the state. Screams feed the fire, turning love to hate. Headlines shout war, pointing who's to blame. When we kill for a difference, nothing's the same. His name was Charlie. He spoke without fear. He spoke without fear. Don't let it fade. Don't let it fall. All voices together. This is how freedom dies. No voice at all. This is how it when silence wins the fight. Don't close your mouth. Don't dim your light. They want us to whisper, to hide what we believe. But truth only lives when the brave still speak. when they try to silence, we've been not killed. Voices in the dark, rising through pain. You can take down a man, but his words remain. His name was Charlie. His name was Charlie. He spoke without fear. He spoke without fear. Don't let it fade. Don't let it fall. All voices together. This is how freedom dies. No voice at all. We're not afraid. No, we'll speak louder still. When they try to silence, we better not kill. Voices in the dark, rising through pain. You can take down a man, but his words remain. His name was